was one of the most highly anticipated fights in British boxing history. Chris Eubank Jr. clashing against Conor Benn to recreate the iconic bouts between their fathers, Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn.
Yeah, but it came at a price, didn't it? After winning, Chris Jr. was left hospitalised for 2 days, suffering from severe dehydration. Something he says was worth it to fight again in front of his famous father after years of not talking.
We'll talk about the dehydration thing in a minute, because that was really heavy. But I was just thinking, you know, looking at those pictures and remembering how I felt when you had that fight, it was probably the most life-changing event you'll ever go through in terms of the fight itself and what it meant for your relationship with your dad.
I believe so. I believe that, you know, the magnitude of the fight combined with my personal situation with my father, that all kind of coming together, you know, in such a public way, and, you know, everything working out the way it did on the night, that moment will never be recreated in boxing history. And I think that it's a very special thing for me to go through alongside my father. Amazing memories, you know.
You had not spoken to your dad for a long time. How long had that been?
I mean, we've been estranged for maybe 4 years.
Wow.
You know.
And then you're in the hotel the night before the fight. You're resigned to the fact that you're recreating this iconic partnership, this iconic bout, but your dad is not going to be there. Conor's dad will be, your dad is not. And that, you'd come to terms with it.
I'd accepted it a long time ago, yeah.
But then you got a text. Right, tell us what the text said and what it led to.
I got a text that said, call me when you see this message. This was around maybe 6 o'clock at night. I saw the message and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm about to, you know, get ready for the biggest fight of my life in less than 24 hours. I can't deal with any more negativity, which is all I had been seeing from my father up until that moment. I think I'm going to leave it. I think I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to get the job done. Right before I went to sleep, you know, I said to myself, you know what? He's my dad. I've thought about it. I've been through so much these last few months. There's nothing, what more can happen? You know, let me call him and just see what he wants to say. I called him, he picked up the phone, and for the first time in years, it was, you know, I could tell immediately from the tone. It was positive, it was happiness, it was joy, it was, I want to be there for you. I want to be in this moment. It was just so shocking. And within an hour, he was in the hotel. I got him a room. We sat down and we kind of planned out what we were going to do together that night.
That must have been heart-lifting for you.
I mean,
to be reunited like that.
Yeah. I mean, if there was ever a time that I needed that little bit of, you know, fatherly love, it was that night before the biggest night of my life. And he came through.
I know you don't want to go into detail, and that's absolutely fine. What was the problem? What had been the problem?
You know, you know, you go through things in life as a father and son. You know, my brother passed away. That affected him deeply. And then that coupled with the fact that I had decided to go off in my own direction instead of being underneath him was just something that he wasn't ready to accept at the time. And it kind of broke our relationship. For him being kind of in control of my career was his life. It was a massive thing for him. So when I separated from him and decided to walk my own path, it created cracks. Yeah. But we are father and son again, and I'm so happy.
What's it like looking back at that?
When you were saying you wanted to box and he was trying to put you off.
Yeah, no, he forbid me from entering boxing gyms for years. He didn't think I'd be tough enough. He didn't think I'd have it in me to do what he did. And you know what? I'm happy looking back at those moments that he didn't believe, because it pushed me so much more. You know, when I was in those hard gym sessions, when I was in those hard amateur fights, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? My old man doesn't think I can do this. I'm going to show him, you know? So that extra drive was everything.
The one thing you've said you will never do again is what you did just before the fight, which was because you were a little bit overweight, you know, in terms of the regulations. So you just basically stopped drinking water and you went for a sauna and you basically dehydrated to lose weight very, very quickly, and you just managed it. You just scraped in. But after the fight, when I heard you'd gone to hospital, I thought, why? You won the fight, everything's fine. You were very, very ill with dehydration, weren't you?
Severe dehydration, that was the issue for me, which is why I had to go to hospital. And, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you live and you learn. You know, I had a rehydration restriction going into this fight where I couldn't only put on a certain amount of weight after a weigh-in. I've never done that before. And, you know, it affected me in that ring. But, you know, the important thing is that, you know, we did what we did on the night. We created a fight that's never going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm good and well
You're okay now.
Feeling great, feeling
Good.
100%.
Thank
And
goodness. And your dad was by your side the whole 2 nights you spent in hospital. As you said,
it was.
thank goodness you responded to that text.
Yes, because, you know, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't have come if I hadn't have bothered to message him. So I thank God that I decided to do that.
And it elevated that fight, didn't
Absolutely,
it? In a
it
way
really did. It really
that
did.
just would have been so different.
Yeah.
It is wonderful to see you.
Great to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming in. Chris Eubank Jr., congratulations
Appreciate it,
on the
guys.
victory.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing what you do next.
And give our best to your dad, because you
will.
can now.
I will. Yes. Okay.
You can text him straight away.